Apparently YouTube crashed. That's what happened here for the last 10 minutes that I've been trying to log in. I just logged out and checked and said YouTube crashed. So yeah, not on my end, not my fault, not on me. But it looks like we're on again. So that's good. I have no idea what this is going to look like in the finished product, but let's assume that everything is all right. It seems to be. All right. Yeah, we had a little bit of crash on YouTube there at the start of my live stream. Never happened before. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I know I lost quite a few of you because of what happened there. But if you're watching, or if you come back, or if you're watching in the rewind, I want to let you guys know that I do appreciate you watching. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join in on this live program. Yeah, I was saying before it started going a little nuts here that I got ill a bit last Friday, a week ago Friday, and had to go into hospital and do a couple of tests. They'll give me their educated guess as to exactly what the problem is, but nothing to worry about. Just a little something that I'm sure they'll be able to straighten out for me. But it did take me down there last weekend, so I do apologize for not doing a live stream, as well as not putting up, or actually not getting around to even having the moment to do part two of my interview with my Uncle Carlton. And so, we put up part one, and then the idea was to put up part two last weekend. But like I said, the plans of mice and men sometimes go awry. So I will take care of that. I just spoke to Uncle Carlton just a few hours ago, and we will be doing part two of that. So that will be coming out this week. So please stay tuned for that. Try to make it a little bit longer. We're using Zoom meeting so that's the best thing that works between me and my uncle at this moment. With me being here in Europe and him being in the States, the best program we could use. Hey, greetings. Thank you. And so it's only about 40 minutes of recording time that they give you with that. So that's why there's a bit of brevity there. But we're going to do as many of these as he wants to and he feels like putting out there. So there will be more episodes of that coming. Yeah, guys, I'm glad to be here. That was my first time having to stay overnight in a hospital. I was lucky I had room to myself. But as I was laying there, in order to distract myself from, what I was going through at the moment, folks, hope you're feeling better, Chief. Think I'm gonna get halfway new Spark Go, gonna get my Jones for new gear. Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about that, and actually, I'm getting into that. So I was laying there. Yes, I am feeling better. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I was laying there and trying to take my mind off my woes, and that's around the time that the whole Waves subscription debacle thing was starting to hit the internet. Just to catch you guys up, Waves is a software company. They've been around since the early 90s. They're one of the oldest ones. They're not as prestigious, in my opinion, as UA Audio or a lot of their other competitors. But for what they did, if you could find one or two of those that were great, they were fantastic. And they had quite a few that I used. I used 50% of my plugins were Waves plugins. I don't use, but that sounds like a lot. But I don't use a lot of plugins. Very selective. But boy, I don't know what I would do without these. And it started me thinking to myself, well, I have been in the box recording for a while now. Had my studio when I set it up in Singapore. When I first moved over from Japan, I would say that I was 50-50. So I had a lot of hardware, outboard gear. and I was using, and I had, of course, software that I was using. So about a 50-50 mix. And then I really started laying into using more plugins because I thought it's more convenient, it's a lot easier. You can take that one and put it across as many channels as you want, as opposed to the hardware version. And I just moved away from being a 50-50 model to being 100% in the box. And when the Wave subscription debacle came up, which, by the way, there was such an outcry by everybody regarding what they were trying to do, get rid of your perpetual license. Perpetual, by the way, Waves, in case you don't have a dictionary there, at your offices means forever. But they were taking away the perpetual licenses and trying to move everybody to a subscription service, and everybody said a no, a resounding no. And so that caused them to have to backpedal aggressively. And it harmed them. But I am glad that they did listen. They could have just persevered on and said, no matter what, we're going to do this. But they backed down. But I didn't like that. For a little short moment there, a lot of the plugins that I used to record with were being called into question. And for me to put myself in a position where I couldn't say, well, of course, there are alternatives, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like being in that position. So I made the conscious decision that I am going to actually reverse myself. I'm going to go, initially here, I'm going to go back to a 50-50 model where I'm using half hardware and half software. And then gradually, as time and finances permit, I'm going to start to buy back or look for a lot of the hardware devices that I used to have and put them right here and go from there. I don't get a lot of recording work these days, and I don't foresee myself getting a lot more. But from my own personal studio taste and also some of the things that I want to do here on YouTube coming up, I thought maybe it's time not just for me to rewire my studio, but actually to kind of redesign it, rethink it, and what I'm going to do. So, and I sold a lot of stuff too, by the way, when I was laying there in that hospital bed. I put a lot of stuff up for sale, and it all went very quickly. I even broke one of my rules from the week before. I had to laugh. Complete transparency here. I said I would never use reverb again, but I put one of my pedals up for sale just for here within Europe. Set it at a good price, and it went within 24 hours. So, and I had no problems with it. For a small thing like a pedal like that, it worked out for me as far as reverb is concerned, but that was the only thing. Sold a few guitars. Going to make some changes here. One of the things that I did order, two things that I ordered this week to go in line with what I'm talking about doing a 50-50 thing, is I got a new Mac. So that should be coming here. And I think that you're going to deliver it tomorrow or the next day. Not new, but a used Mac. And so that will cover the software. What part of my recording that I continue to do software-wise with Studio One, I will continue to do that with that. Of course, video editing and things that I do here for YouTube. But on the hardware side, I'm going to purchase the Tascam 32 DP hard disk recorder. It's a 32 track, if you guys aren't familiar with it. Tascam has a series of mixers and recorders, digital mixers and recorders. The DP series, which uses SD cards as a storage medium, has the 24 track and the 32 track. I'm going to go with the 32 track. And what I can do with that system is I can record using the Tascam, lay my basic tracks down. I can then transfer them over into, using USB, into my computer, do whatever sweetening, editing that I want to do within, Studio One, and then send those right back over to the DP32 for Mixdown. And and then, eventually, like I said, I'll see about, completely moving. I think there's always going to be a software component, of course, to my recording. A lot of things that I have to do, I do have to keep within a certain norm with people that I trade files with. But I think for me, going forward, that's actually going to be a great option. So this time next week, there'll be a DP32 sitting here over my shoulder. I'm going to put it right here. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I think that for me, it's going to solve a lot of issues. And again, a lot of things that I want to do going forward on this YouTube channel, demos and things of that nature, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to do that as well. There is going to be an increase of guitars coming through here. In my work life, I got a little side project going with a partner of mine in Japan. So you guys are going to be seeing a lot of Japanese, a lot of the older vintage Japanese Epiphones rolling through here. They're not for me to keep. They are going to be moved on, but I would love to review those. And I think right here at this spot and with that setup, hey, Mickey, hey, everybody. Hey, buddy. I think that's going to probably be the best way for me to go. So, like I said, I was laying there in the hospital bed and just said to myself, you know what? I'm not good. It was weird. It really was that situation with Waves that got that train of thought going with me. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not liking this. And I really liked it a lot better when you had a lot more hardware. Why did we move away from our hardware? So, yeah. Hey, welcome, Patrick. Thank you for joining in. So, yeah, I'm done with 100% in the box mixing. If anything that we learn from that situation with Waves is that, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're, going to find yourself in the need to quickly overnight like they did, because they dropped that little bomb on, I believe, like on a Friday or a Saturday. They were really trying to be very stealth with it, and it backfired tremendously in their face. But you don't want to be in a situation where you got cats like that who can make those kind of calls, or just go out of business. There have been numerous, companies that I used to use their plugins that they've disappeared, and as well as the usage of those plugins. So yeah, I'm moving away from plugins, guys. So I'm going to, the next thing after the DP that I'm going to buy is some mic pre's. The DP comes with actually pretty decent mic pre's in it, but I'm going to buy a rack mount mic pre. I know the one that I'm going to buy. And then after that, probably see if I can find a Lexicon reverb delay for use somewhere out there, and start just setting my racks up here. And then eventually, like I said, just trying to do the majority of my recording the way that I used to. And so I'm excited about that. So you guys will see that change coming up here this week. Like I said, by this time next Sunday, the DP will be sitting here behind me. And yeah, I'm excited about that. What else happened this week? Well, we got the news that Marshall actually has sold to a company called Zounds. Now, it's not the Z Sounds. There's actually a music retail shop called Zounds, Z Sounds or something like that. But this is another company. This is a company that actually did a lot of the Bluetooth stuff for Marshall. They were a contractor of Marshall, and somehow or another they have bought Marshall out. They are now the majority owner. I'm sure that the family still, usually the way that goes is the families keep some kind of custodial control, a legacy control of the company, but for all intents and purposes, it is sold to a different company. New management will make different decisions. Um, so, kind of again, we saw, Marshall sold, a couple other Mesa Boogie, a couple other folks sold. Be funny if they cost less here in America now. Well, we'll see. That's the thing is that what will be the outcome of this? It's interesting to me that none of the major amplifier makers are now owned by their original owners. There's none. They've all been bought out in one shape, form, or another. And you every now and then you'll see people saying, "Well, are we moving into the dawn of the death of the amplifier?" And again, with Marshall being sold like this, at least partially, that kind of discussion comes up again. That kind of topic comes up in the forums again. As you know, I cruise the forums and I kind of get a viewpoint of that's holistic of a lot of different musicians and what they're thinking and feeling. So I like that. But yeah, that conversation comes up again. Is this the death of the amplifier? Now, I am amazed. I feel like when I was in Singapore, just because of the way it is there, I had my head underwater. I really wasn't exposed to a lot of the stuff, the Kemplers, the Helixes, and stuff that, and the chord, the quad cores and the Tone X pedals and things. But the Tone X is new, but you get my drift. I drift. I never really focused on those. I was really going through the first stages of building this damn pedal board here, which is finally done. Wow, dig that. How many years did that take me to feel like I'm done? But by the way, I'm building a new pedal board. I'm actually going to be using I've actually started to pick out some of the pedals that's going to be on my new pedal board. But this one, I'm going to move I have my amp in my living room, and I sit there sometimes, and that's when I practice. But I'm actually going to move the amp here into the studio room for some things that I want to do, and I'm building myself another ampless rig, something. But this is my practice rig. It's not going to be as extensive as this one. It'll be a lot more compact, but I'm building a rig so I can sit there in the living room and practice. Because I don't like playing in here. I like recording in here, but if I'm just noodling or if I'm listening to something on YouTube and want to play along and take a lesson or something like that, I like doing it in the next room. So yeah, I'm building another pedal board, but I'll get into that next week with one of my regular content shows. I'll talk more about that. But that amp is something that I wouldn't let go. If you own an amp, regardless of whether it's like mine, a Laney, relatively inexpensive, but it's been souped up. It's got a lot going for it, as you guys know, underneath the hood, all the way up to some of the more expensive models out there. You can fill in the blank with your head what you think those might be. Is this a death of those things? Could I see myself buying another amp? And the answer to that is no. For me personally, I don't see myself needing another amp. I always said if you've got a good 1x12 that has some kind of built-in attenuation to it, reverb, all that good stuff, all those bells and whistles, then you're doing good. You got what you need in order to pretty much record what you like. Even in a live situation, it's a lot easier to lug that thing and you can just mic it. You guys know those famous stories of these bands that had all these Marshall stacks behind them, But the truth of the matter is, if you follow that guitar lead cable, it was going to a little 1x12, 1x10 that was mic'd in the back. And that's true. That's for real. That was the Marshall's stack was just for rock aesthetics. Yeah, you get a good 1x12, and I do, and I don't feel the need for another one, and so I won't be buying any more amps. As you know, I'm more interested in these ampless rigs that I've been building. So that's me personally, though. Actually, guys, that's my own thoughts on it. Because if you got one, you're pretty much real good. Unless you're real, I could see. Okay, if you're into amp heads, if you want to get an orange head, you want to get a Marshall head, you want to get a Mesa Boogie head, things like that. Okay, I know cats like that, and they'll stack them up and they'll run them through a cabinet in their studios. But that even in itself is the exception. There's not too many people these days that are doing that, because for the cost of all that, you get a Kempler, you get a Helix, I go down the line. Hell, that Tonex pedal for under 455, 450. That thing, from what I'm looking at specs on it, pretty much will model all of those anyway, and you can carry them all around in that one little 450 doohickey. So that makes this seem a little bit obsolete in a lot of people's minds. And to be honest with you, you know, you got to have room. We know these things. I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know, but you have to have the space to have that amp in. Your neighbors probably kill you. Your wife, kids probably kill you if you're in that kind of domestic situation. So they've become impractical, and they've been replaced by things that comparatively are cheaper and offer multiples of the functions that standard amps do. The age of the dinosaur rock guys like me is coming to an end, and and I just don't see there being enough of an audience out there going forward where a lot of these amp companies can survive. I'm sure one of the things that you'll see happen with this Marshall situation is they'll probably start scaling down their models. You may see them scale it down to just their core models. And you will definitely see an increase in their electronics. You'll see that offering of those pedals, which I really wonder how this shift over to a new company is going to affect that reissues of those the Blues Breaker, the Shredder, et cetera, et cetera. That'd be interesting to see. I'm not quite too clear on that. Maybe it just grandfathered in and continues on. But I just see a scaling down. And a lot of young cats. It's a financial thing too. It's like, I'm going to spend $2,000 to get a Marshall Blues Breaker copy, or I'm going to spend $2,000 and get a Kempler Profiler that gives me that Marshall head amp plus, again, like I said, multitudes of others. From a financial standpoint, and as that technology comes in, if you notice that the prices of those are starting to drop and drop and drop and drop, so it becomes a more viable thing. And if anything, if we remember as musicians when we were younger, we were, if anything, we were practical. We said, hey, I don't have the bread to do that, but I got the bread to do that. And you would do that. Maybe you say to yourself, well, later on, I'll get some more bread and I can trade up and do things like that. But really, the mentality has not changed. I don't see why it would change. If I had a choice between a Marshall, head and maybe a 2x12 cabinet or a 4x12 cabinet versus a Kempler, I'd take the Kempler. I wouldn't touch the Marshall, because amps, even unto themselves, require a great deal of a good place to be in storage has got to be good. Your humidity, you're dealing with tubes, vacuum tubes, that could be tricky. They're pretty solid things. Just like if you park them and you treat them good, they won't give you any troubles mostly. However, eventually they will. And if you gig and you travel it around and you're lugging in and you got some roadie or some guy at the club who's just throws it down and starts jigging around, you get enough nights of those and you're going to have issues. With a Kempler, got your little gig bag, put it on the floor, plug it in, and you're ready to go. And I think that is really going to be the way to go. So the sale of Marshall to this new company is a further sign, in my opinion, of things to come. I think that we're just going to see a decline more and more as we go on of people who are taking the option of buying physical amps. Is it a shame? Are we missing anything there? No. In a mix. Again, in a song mix. Because we're not talking about sitting there and playing on the boardwalk with this stuff. We're talking about recording. What about 2x112, two 1x12s? I just making more reasonable have I found my, yeah, 2 1x12s. Well, I had that for a while. Remember, I had my Laney, which was 1x12, and then I had that, oh God, why can't I think of that? That's embarrassing. It's like the most, anyway, I had that other amp. I guess I hated it so much I put it out of my mind, but I had 2 1x12, interestingly enough. Yeah, guys, but the reality is that's where it's going to go. I've got a recording situation here with this board that, whereas if you total everything up, it's about $1,000 investment there. The Laney's are sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I love my Laney. I would never let it go. I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I put in a 73 Greenback speaker in it and vintage tubes and had it rewired. So it's kind of a monster Laney now. But it's all I need, and it's all I will ever need. And if it ever comes a situation where somebody says, we need your gig and bring an amp, I'm ready to go. But that's it. I don't feel the need for another one. That's why I got rid of the other one. And God dang it, why can't I think of the name of that amp that I had? Anyway, it's Brian May's amp. What is that? God, it's so bad. You guys know I'm not well when I can't think of the name of that amp. AC30, yeah. So I had an AC30, and I did not like that amp at all. It just didn't work for me. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, guys, something to think about. Again, all within the theme of what I'm talking about here tonight in general, about getting out of the in the box and into more hardware recording, hardware-based recording. That is where I'm going, and I'm doing it for a lot of reasons. And again, would I buy a modeler? No. I don't see the need. There's, you can take the approach of buying the Kempler, sure, or you could set yourself up with something like this for about $1,000. It cost you to do this, and it has a lot more character. That's you. One of the drawbacks of Kemplers and Axe-Fx and go down the list is that all the recordings you could tweak them to a certain extent, but it's all going to sound relatively within a certain parameter. Whereas if you have an independent pedal-based system like this, really the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do, because you can do things with this that don't exist in that. Do you understand what I mean? So from a recording standpoint, those are fantastic and far superior to amps, in my opinion, the Kemplers of the Axe-Fx, things of that nature. From an individual sound standpoint, it still is a little bit of vanilla. It's still a little bit too bland. It's too you're not creating what it is that is you, your sound. Now, am I saying that you can't use those devices in order to create your? Of course you can. But I'm still convinced that pedals generally are still a viable alternative also to amplifiers, pedalless, these ampless systems, because you can really work on one and has pedals and tones that really is unique to you, to the sound that's in your head. So there's that. But none of these things pertain too well for amplifiers and their future. And again, like I said, it's a no-brainer, man. You know, if I had a choice back in the day when I was playing bass live, and I had to lug that stupid PV. I had a PV bass amp, and back in college, I remember, and right after college when I was going into studios, and I had lugged that PV amp with me and my bass, and I even at 20, 24, 25 years old, I would love to have had something like this, which takes the place of that PV amp. I can plug my bass right into this, come out with these unbalanced, balanced outputs, whichever one I want to do, right into the board, and I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. So, something like this is, to me, amazing step forward. And that's just that. Think of what you can do bass-wise with those profiles and things of that nature. So, yeah, guys, it's just, you really have to think to yourself, practicality. And I'm starting again. I found that recording 100% in the box is not practical for me. Just as I find that wanting an amp or having amplifiers is not practical for me either. I like a small footprint. I don't. With this area here, I got my keyboards here. I've got everything set up. I've got some of my other out over here behind the camera here. The rest of the space is pretty much well open. Mike over there in the corner. But I like small footprint, and so I think that what I plan to do here will aesthetically be pleasing to me, and will make my workflow a lot more interesting. The feeling of tactile. That's why I have this right here. This is what I've been using for quite a while with Studio One. When I'm recording and editing and mixing, is using this unit because I like the tactile sense. I like having the faders. I like having the knobs. I like feeling things too. So I think the DP32 will satisfy that aspect of recording to a certain extent that I like. That thing doesn't have motorized faders. But that's not a big important thing to me. I am going to have to do all the sweetening inside of Studio One until I get my hardware-based reverbs and compressors and things like that. But yeah, I'm excited about it. So, where are we at here? Okay, honestly, guys, those are my thoughts on what I plan on doing here with my recording studio here coming up in the future. A lot of cool guitars are about to come through, guys. I'm not, BSing you on that. You are going to see some very interesting guitars. My first order that I'm placing and have a buyer for is the Tak Matsumoto DC Custom. This was a guitar that was made by Epiphone in Japan. It's a Japan-only release. It's a double cut custom with burst buckers included. They also is another one of those models that Epiphone came out with burst buckers. And if you can get them and check them out, you pretty much will say to yourself, wow, why didn't they put this one out for the rest of Europe and America? Why did they do a Japan-only release on these? So I'm excited that it's coming through, so we're going to do a review of that. Should be here in the studio. Hey, Patrick, I'm happy that you came and caught the live, too. I really appreciate it. I wish I was not still under the weather, guys. I still am a little ill, so we're not going to be going long tonight. We're going to keep this short. But I was excited to get on. First of all, to show that I'm alive. I know I look like death on a soda cracker, but I'm actually okay. I'm actually on the mend and I'm healing, guys. But I am so excited about the things that are coming up here that I just had to come out tonight and talk about them. Some of the cool things that we're going to be going over, and that I can show you now that I can do with this change of equipment that's coming. Knock on wood this week. I think everything. The order for the Mac is set, and the DP I'm actually buying locally. So yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm in the guitars. Interview with my Uncle Carlton, part two, that I will be actually filming tomorrow with him. A lot of exciting things that I'm doing, but I was laying there in my hospital bed, you know, and I was thinking to myself, wow, you got all these great things coming up, but it doesn't really mean anything if you don't have your health together, dude. So let's work on that. So I've been working on that. It's some kind of it's something in my nervous system. They don't know what it is, but it kicks in, it seems like every 3 months or so. Yes, always, always. And it's getting more frequent, and so it's a big concern. But I'm so excited about the things that are coming up. Not just the things here for YouTube, but the things, work things in my personal life that I'm excited about. So I said, Michael, you gotta get yourself better. So here I am on the mend, as I said, my good friends, and I want to let you all know I thinking about you guys and knowing that you're out there thinking about me really makes a big difference. I have to tell you, you know, I, that's the biggest, best, wonderful thing that having this YouTube channel has really brought to me is you guys. Slow and steady. Yeah, slow and steady. I'm trying to. Believe me, I am. I'm working it, but no, seriously. You guys really are a great motivation and part of that excitement, because I really want to show you what's going on and what I'm thinking and what I'm trying to do here. And so, yeah, going forward here, it's going to be the changes that I've been talking about, as you can see, are starting to get implemented. And it'd be a far more interesting channel as far as that's concerned. Again, I'm not doing this for financial sake, guys. I'm really doing this because I like the outreach. I like talking to you guys. I like sharing with you. I like hearing your what's going on with you guys. I really dig this, and so I want to make it as entertaining as possible. So, with God willing, I think you guys are going to see some pretty cool stuff coming up here this year, going forward. So I am going to call this short tonight, guys. I better go to bed, to be honest with you, get some rest. But I did want to just stop by and talk about a few things with you, and let you know that I'm here. So look forward to that part two of Uncle Carlton coming up. Look forward to me talking about the second build that I'm doing. I'm going to do a build, guys. Another Ampless build. Some of the pedals that I'm going to be using I've already chosen. Some of them I'm going to have to buy. I'm actually still looking at the Iridium. That may be it. Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you. I might still get that Iridium. That may be the core for my next Ampless rig, my practice Ampless rig. But we shall see. Anyway, it's exciting to think about. God, I hope it doesn't take another 8 years like it took for me to finally settle on my recording Ampless rig. I swear, guys, look at the videos. I got almost coming over 300 videos. I swear half of them are about this stupid pedal board. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Please take a look at the stuff that's coming up. If you haven't looked at the videos that I've put up, take a look at those and hit the likes. If you look at a video, leave me a comment. I see people are looking at videos, but it's really your comments that let me know that you're really digging it. So don't forget to hit the bell notifications to let you know stuff's coming up. And boy, do I have some stuff coming up. All right, guys, I'm going to head off to bed, get some rest. Thank you so much for showing up. Peace to every one of you. God bless. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.